If he loves you, he will ignore you. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, how can that be? If someone loves me, shouldn't they be constantly paying attention to me? Shouldn't they be doing everything to please me? And I get it. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? But let me take you on a journey to understand something deeper than just what you see on the surface. Love is not just about the emotions we feel or the affection we give. True love operates on a different level. You see, when someone loves you, they understand your value, and they know that love is about respecting and protecting you. Sometimes that means stepping back. It means giving you space to grow. It means recognizing that you are not a project to be fixed or a puzzle to be solved. You are a person with purpose, a person with a destiny that doesn't rely on them to define it for you. True love respects and empowers. It is not a force that seeks to control, manipulate, or demand attention, but a force that uplifts, supports, and allows the other to flourish. In the Bible, we are taught that love is patient and kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, and it is not proud. True love is not self-seeking. It gives the other person the space to grow, to discover themselves, and to walk in their purpose. It's not a love that stifles or suffocates, but one that encourages and nurtures. Think about a parent's love for a child. When a parent loves their child, they do not try to hold them back from making mistakes or stepping out into the world. They empower their child by providing guidance, wisdom, and the tools needed for success. But ultimately, they must let go. They give the child space to learn and grow, knowing that their love is not about keeping them close at all times, but about equipping them to be strong, independent, and confident. This is the essence of empowering love, allowing the person you love to stand on their own 2 feet, to make their own decisions, and to walk the path they are destined to walk. In the book of Proverbs, we are reminded that train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. This is not about holding the child back, but about teaching them the right way so that they can go and live their life according to the values and wisdom instilled in them. It's about respecting their potential and trusting that with the right foundation, they will make the right choices. Love gives them the strength to stand on their own, even when the parent must take a step back. Similarly, in relationships, whether they be romantic, familial, or platonic, love requires space. If you truly love someone, you will not try to smother them with your expectations or cling to them for your own sense of security. You will recognize that their purpose is not your purpose, and their journey is not yours to control. Instead, you empower them to live out their potential. You trust that they are capable of making their own decisions and taking their own steps. Love respects the autonomy of the other person, even when that means giving them room to breathe, room to grow, and room to be who they are meant to be. Think about the analogy of a tree. A tree does not thrive when it is boxed in or limited by a small pot. It flourishes when its roots are able to grow deep into the soil, when it is given the space to stretch and reach for the sky. Similarly, a person does not flourish when they are constantly confined by someone else's expectations or desires. True love is like the open sky, giving the other person the freedom to grow, explore, and discover who they are meant to become. It's the kind of love that says, I trust you, I trust your potential, I trust that you will find your way. We often confuse love with control. We think that by keeping someone close, by constantly checking on them, or by always being present, we are showing them love. But is that really love? Or is it insecurity? When we hold someone too tightly, we don't empower them, we limit their potential. Think about the love of Christ for us. Jesus didn't force us to follow him, he invited us. He showed us the way, and then he allowed us the freedom to choose. He empowered us with the Holy Spirit, the ability to think, to reason, and to make decisions. In that same way, true love respects the autonomy of the other person. It gives them the freedom to choose, and it trusts that in time, They will become who they were created to be. As you reflect on this, ask yourself, are you giving the people you love the space they need to grow? Are you empowering them to live their own lives, or are you trying to control their path? Are you allowing them to make their own choices, or are you trying to protect them from everything that might challenge them? True love is not about holding on tightly. It is about letting go and allowing the other person to step into their full potential. When you love someone, you trust them. You trust their strength. You trust their purpose. You respect their journey, and you empower them to walk it. That is the essence of true love. Love is not about constant validation. It is about understanding and trust. In our world today, we often equate love with attention, constant attention, validation, and reassurance. We feel that if someone loves us, they should always be affirming us, always complimenting us, always showing us affection. And while affection is a part of love, it is not the foundation of it. True love is deeper than the surface level need for constant validation. It is about trust, respect, and understanding, especially when no one is there to validate your worth. When we think about love in this way, it's easy to get lost in the need for constant approval from others. But the truth is, love is not dependent on always feeling validated. True love goes beyond the fleeting satisfaction that comes from hearing words or receiving compliments. It's not about seeking constant reassurance. Instead, it's about knowing deep down in your heart that you are loved, whether or not those words are spoken, whether or not the actions are always present. In 1 Corinthians 13:4-7, we are told that love is patient and kind. It does not envy, boast, or dishonor others. It is not self-seeking, and it does not easily anger. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Notice how none of these qualities require constant validation. Patience doesn't need validation. Kindness doesn't need validation. These virtues thrive in the absence of constant affirmation. They are grounded in a deeper understanding of love that does not rely on the surface level interactions or moments of validation that we so often crave. Consider the relationship between a parent and their child. A parent doesn't constantly demand validation from their child. They don't need to hear, "I love you" every moment to know they are loved. The relationship is built on trust, on the understanding that the parent has a responsibility to care for, nurture, and guide their child, whether or not the child expresses constant gratitude or appreciation. It is a love based on sacrifice, commitment, and understanding. Even when the child is not verbally affirming their parents' actions, the parent continues to love, teach, and protect because their love is rooted in understanding, not in the need for validation. Think about the love that Jesus demonstrated for us. He didn't constantly seek validation from his disciples or from those around him. His love for humanity was never dependent on receiving accolades or constant affirmation. In fact, his love led him to the cross, a place of ultimate sacrifice, where he did not ask for validation from those around him. He understood his purpose, and he loved us in the deepest way possible without the need for constant reassurance. His actions and his words were the proof of his love. He loved us not because of what we gave him in return, but because he knew the value of love was not dependent on external affirmation. So often we place the value of love on external validation. We look for others to confirm our worth, to tell us that we are valuable, to assure us that we are loved. But is this the kind of love we are meant to experience? Is love supposed to be based on a cycle of constant reassurance? Or is it meant to be something deeper, more enduring, and more confident? Think about the relationships where love is built on constant validation. How often do we feel satisfied? After we receive the compliment, the attention, or the praise, does it truly satisfy our need for love? Or does it leave us wanting more? We are never truly satisfied with the external validation because our true worth and identity come from a deeper place. Our value is not determined by the approval of others, but by the understanding of who we are in Christ, by the love that God has for us. God's love doesn't require constant affirmation from us. He loves us because he created us with purpose. That is a love that is unshakable, steady, and eternal. When we build love on the foundation of trust and understanding, we stop needing constant validation. We no longer seek external confirmation to feel loved. We begin to recognize that love is not about what we receive in the moment, but about the deeper connection we share. Love is not about how often someone tells us they love us. It's about how their actions reflect that love. It's about the respect, the sacrifice, and the trust that underlie every interaction. In your relationships, whether with family, friends, or a significant other, ask yourself, is my love built on the need for constant validation? Am I constantly seeking approval from others to feel valued? Or am I confident in the love I have, knowing it is founded on trust, understanding, and a deeper connection? True love isn't shaken by the absence of constant praise. It endures because it is rooted in something far stronger than external validation. It is rooted in trust, understanding, and the confidence that love is present even in silence. Love gives freedom. It is not a controlling force that seeks to bind someone to a specific idea or expectation. It is an empowering force that encourages the other person to step into their true identity and purpose. This freedom to be who we are, to make choices, and to walk in our own destiny is one of the most profound expressions of love. True love gives the space for the other person to grow, to explore, and to become the fullest version of themselves, even if that means walking a different path or making mistakes along the way. Think about the love God has for us. From the very beginning, he gave us the gift of free will. He did not create us to be robots programmed to follow commands, but as beings with the ability to choose. He gave us the freedom to choose him, to choose his ways, or to go our own way. The Bible says in Deuteronomy 30:19, I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life so that you and your children may live. God's love gives us the freedom to choose, even when we choose the wrong path. He does not force us into his love, but he invites us to embrace it, giving us the autonomy to make decisions and experience the consequences of those decisions. That is love, a love that trusts, respects, and gives freedom. Similarly, in our relationships, true love gives the freedom for the other person to be themselves. It does not try to control, manipulate, or force someone into a mold that they were never meant to fit. True love does not try to box someone in, but instead celebrates their individuality and encourages their growth. It recognizes that each person has their own unique journey, their own calling, and their own purpose, and it provides the freedom to walk that path. Imagine a gardener who nurtures a plant. The gardener doesn't force the plant to grow in a particular direction. The gardener provides the necessary conditions, soil, water, sunlight, and then gives the plant the freedom to grow. The plant is not confined to the gardener's will, but instead it flourishes within the space that is given to it. In the same way, true love provides the environment for someone to grow, but it does not force them to grow in a specific way. Love creates the conditions for growth and then allows the person to develop at their own pace according to their own purpose. This kind of love requires trust. It requires the understanding that the other person has their own journey to walk. It's easy to try to control someone we love, to want them to think, act, or be a certain way. But love respects the freedom of the other person to be who they are, even when that means stepping outside of our expectations or comfort zones. It's not about making someone fit into our image of them, but about encouraging them to become who they were created to be. Think about a relationship where one person constantly controls the other, whether through manipulation or demands. How healthy is that relationship? How does it feel to always have someone try to dictate your every move, your every decision? It feels suffocating, right? That is not love. Love, at its core, is about freedom. The freedom to make decisions, to follow one's own path, and to trust that the person you love will support you in that journey, even if it's different from what they expected. The Apostle Paul speaks of freedom in Christ, saying, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free." Galatians 5:01. Freedom in Christ means not being bound by the law, not being controlled by fear or doubt, but living with the freedom to follow God's purpose for our lives. True love gives us this same freedom to live, to choose, and to walk our own journey. It does not bind us, but rather it sets us free to live authentically, to discover our gifts and talents, and to pursue the destiny that God has placed within us. When we love someone, we should ask ourselves, am I giving them the freedom they need to be who they are? Am I respecting their ability to make decisions for themselves, even if I don't always agree with those decisions? Love that controls, that demands, or that seeks to dominate is not love at all. It is fear, insecurity, and a lack of trust. True love gives the freedom to be yourself, to make mistakes, and to learn from those mistakes. Love at its highest level is about creating an environment in which the other person can thrive, explore, and grow. It gives freedom to become more than what we are today, to step into the potential that God has placed inside us, and to walk confidently in the direction of our purpose. In your relationships, whether with your spouse, your children, your friends, or even with yourself, ask, are you giving freedom, or are you trying to control? Are you creating space for growth, or are you trying to fit the other person into a mold? True love empowers, it doesn't restrict. It provides the freedom to be who you were always meant to be. Attention is not the measure of affection. Love goes far deeper than the mere act of giving constant attention. In today's world, we often mistake attention for love. We think that if someone truly loves us, they should always be present, always available, always giving us their undivided attention. However, the reality is that love is not dependent on the frequency of attention or the immediacy of presence. True love is about the depth of the connection, the consistency of care, and the understanding that love does not always need to be visible or loud to be powerful. Consider the example of a parent and child. When a parent loves their child, they may not always be right there beside them every moment of every day, but that does not mean they don't love their child. In fact, many times, the best way a parent can show their love is by giving their child the space to grow, to make their own decisions, and to learn from their mistakes. This doesn't mean the parent loves them any less. It means that the parent understands the importance of trust and independence. Love is not about constant attention, but about the constant support that allows the child to flourish, even when the parent isn't hovering over them. In the Bible, we are reminded that love is patient and kind. It does not demand immediate gratification or seek attention for itself. In 1 Corinthians 13:4-5, it says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. This passage doesn't suggest that love is all about receiving attention, but that it is about the character of the love itself, how it behaves, how it acts, and how it sustains the other person even when things are not perfect. Love doesn't always need to be seen or heard to be felt. In fact, some of the deepest moments of love are when no words are exchanged and yet the bond is still there, unbreakable and steady. In a healthy relationship, the understanding of love is not about keeping score of who has given the most attention, but rather about knowing that the other person is committed, even in moments of silence or distance. Think about a marriage where both partners are busy with their own responsibilities, their work or other obligations. In these moments, they might not have time to give each other constant attention, but their love does not fade. Instead, it grows stronger because it is based on trust, respect, and commitment. Love doesn't demand constant affirmation. It simply endures and persists, even in times of separation or challenge. Similarly, consider the love Christ has for us. Jesus never forced us to constantly acknowledge him or pay attention to him. His love was displayed in his actions, the sacrifices he made, the teachings he left, and the ultimate gift of his life. Jesus loved us even when we were not paying attention to him. He knew that true love was not about the immediate response of others, but about being consistent in giving and serving, regardless of whether others were watching or responding. In fact, his greatest act of love, his sacrifice on the cross, was done without any guarantee that we would love him back in the same way. He wasn't looking for attention, he was offering unconditional love. True love operates in a similar way. It is not about how much attention we can get or how often we are acknowledged. It's about being steadfast, about showing up when it matters most, and about being there for the other person, even when circumstances prevent constant attention. This doesn't mean we shouldn't express our love, but it does mean we must understand that love is not defined by how often we seek or receive attention. Love is defined by its depth, its resilience, and its ability to withstand time, even when it's not in the spotlight. The world today encourages us to seek validation and attention, especially in relationships. Social media, for example, thrives on the constant need for attention. We are constantly seeking likes, comments, and attention from others, as if this defines our worth. But is this really the essence of love? Should love be based on how often we are seen or how much attention we receive? If love were based solely on attention, it would be fragile and fleeting, always needing constant affirmation to survive. In any healthy relationship, love is sustained not by constant attention, but by trust, respect, and the understanding that attention does not always equate to love. Think about your closest relationships. Are they built on the number of times you give each other attention, or are they built on the understanding that even in moments of quiet or distance, the love remains steady and unwavering? The question we must ask ourselves is, am I seeking attention, or am I seeking deeper connection? Am I measuring love by how often I receive attention, or am I embracing the quiet moments that speak volumes about trust, commitment, and understanding? True love is about the enduring connection that exists beyond the need for constant affirmation. It is built on the solid foundation of respect and consistency, not on the fleeting moments of attention that we so often chase. Love is deeper than attention. It is about the lasting commitment, the silent support, and the unwavering care that persists even when no one is looking. This is the true measure of affection. Love allows growth and mistakes. It is not a love that expects perfection, nor a love that seeks to correct every wrong. Instead, it is a love that gives room for the other person to grow, to stumble, to fall, and to rise again. True love recognizes that growth often comes through trial and error, and it is willing to support and encourage the other person through the challenges that come with learning and evolving. The Bible is full of stories that demonstrate God's love, allowing for growth and mistakes. Take the story of Peter, one of Jesus' closest disciples. Peter was passionate, often impulsive, and even denied Jesus 3 times during the most crucial moment of Jesus' life. But Jesus did not cast him aside. Instead, he restored him, saying in John 21:15-17, "Do you love me? Feed my sheep." Jesus didn't focus on Peter's failures. He focused on his potential, his ability to grow, and his role in the larger plan. Jesus knew that Peter's mistakes were not the end of his story. They were just part of his journey toward becoming the leader he was called to be. This is the essence of love that allows growth and mistakes. It doesn't discard someone because of their errors, but instead, it provides a space for redemption and change. In our relationships, this same principle applies. We often expect those we love to be flawless, to meet all of our expectations and to never make mistakes. But true love doesn't demand perfection. It recognizes that we are all human and we all will make mistakes. Whether it's a spouse who forgets an important date, a child who rebels, or a friend who lets us down, love gives grace. It understands that mistakes are part of the learning process, and it doesn't condemn, but instead encourages growth. Consider the love of a gardener tending to a young plant. The gardener knows that the plant will not grow overnight. It will face storms, perhaps even wither at times, but with patience and care, the gardener provides the right conditions for growth. The plant isn't uprooted every time it faces a setback. The gardener recognizes that growth takes time and that sometimes the plant will need more attention than other times. This is how love should be in our relationships: steadfast, patient, and willing to allow space for mistakes, knowing that each step, even the missteps, is part of the process. In the same way, God's love for us is not contingent on our ability to be perfect. Romans 5:8 says, "But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." God's love did not wait for us to be perfect. It came to us in our imperfection. He knew that we would make mistakes, that we would fail, and that we would struggle, but he still chose to love us unconditionally. This is the kind of love that allows for growth. It is a love that does not condemn our mistakes, but uses them as opportunities for growth, healing, and transformation. Now, some may argue that allowing growth and mistakes means accepting bad behavior or allowing someone to repeatedly make the same mistakes. However, true love is not about passively accepting hurtful behavior. It's about creating an environment where growth is possible. Love allows space for people to learn from their mistakes, but it also sets boundaries when necessary to ensure that love is nurtured in a healthy, constructive way. Love will correct, but it corrects with the intent to help the other person grow, not to tear them down. This is especially important in relationships where we are in a position of influence, whether as parents, mentors, or partners. If we love someone, we must understand that they are on their own journey. Growth is not always linear. There will be ups and downs, setbacks and breakthroughs. And in those moments, our love should be unwavering. We must be willing to forgive, to offer a hand, to provide encouragement, and to show patience as the other person learns, grows, and becomes who they were meant to be. In relationships, it's easy to become frustrated when the other person doesn't seem to be progressing as quickly as we would like. Perhaps a loved one has made the same mistake repeatedly, or they are struggling with an issue that we wish they could overcome. But love that allows for growth and mistakes is not about rushing the process. It is about walking beside them through the challenges, offering support, and trusting that the growth will come in its own time. We must ask ourselves, are we allowing the people we love the space to make mistakes, to learn, and to grow? Are we patient enough to walk with them through the difficult seasons, knowing that growth often takes time and comes with setbacks? The love that allows for growth and mistakes is a love that reflects the patience and grace God shows us. It is not about seeking perfection, but about creating an environment where both the person we love and ourselves can flourish, despite the mistakes and imperfections we all carry. True love doesn't give up when things get difficult. It holds on, it hopes, and it believes in the potential of the other person to rise above their challenges. In your own relationships, whether they are with your spouse, your children, your friends, or even yourself, ask, am I giving grace for mistakes? Am I patient with the process of growth, even when it seems slow or painful? Am I allowing the people I love to be imperfect while still encouraging their journey toward becoming who they are meant to be? True love embraces growth, mistakes, and the potential for transformation. It's in the mistakes, the setbacks, and the challenges that we often find the most profound opportunities for growth. And it's in those moments that love shines the brightest. Love is not just about the good times or the easy moments. It is also about the commitment to remain when things get tough. It's easy to love someone when they are at their best, when life is smooth and when there's joy in the air. But true love is tested in the fire of trials, challenges, and hardships. It is in those moments that love proves its strength, its depth, and its resilience. In the Bible, we see that love is not contingent on circumstances. In Romans 5:03 to 5, Paul reminds us that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. Love is able to endure because it is grounded in something deeper than the fleeting emotions of happiness or the highs of life's successes. True love is not an emotion that can be swayed by external factors. It is a decision, a commitment to remain through thick and thin, just as Jesus demonstrated this ultimate love by enduring the suffering of the cross. We are called to display a similar commitment in our relationships. In John 15:13, he says, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. This kind of love is not contingent on the ease of life, but is willing to sacrifice, to endure hardship, and to stay faithful through every storm." Think about a marriage. The vows we make in marriage are not just for the good times when everything is going well, but for the difficult seasons when one partner may be ill, when financial struggles arise, or when life's burdens seem unbearable. True love in marriage isn't the love that disappears when things are hard. It is the love that digs in, that says, "I am here for you, not because everything is perfect, but because I choose to love you through this." We've all seen or experienced relationships where someone walks away when the going gets tough. It's a painful reminder that love in some cases was only conditional on the ease of the relationship. But this is not how love is meant to be. Love isn't about bailing out when things are hard. It's about showing up, staying the course, and working through the challenges together. Consider the relationship between a parent and a child. When a child makes mistakes, when they struggle with their behavior, or when they fail in some way, a parent's love does not disappear. The parent's commitment remains even when things are difficult. Love for a child is not conditional on their perfection. It is steadfast, unchanging, and persistent, even when the child's actions may be disappointing. A parent understands that the child is still growing, still learning, and still becoming who they are meant to be. In the same way, love in relationships isn't about running when things get hard. It's about remaining, nurturing, and helping the other person grow through the challenges. But how do we cultivate this kind of love? How do we make love the constant, unwavering force in our lives, even when circumstances are difficult? It starts with understanding that love is not about feeling good all the time or avoiding discomfort. It is about recognizing that true love is a choice to stand by the other person, to support them, and to be their strength when they can't carry themselves. The Apostle Paul tells us in Reconciliation 13:7 that love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. This enduring love is not a passive love. It is an active love. It is an active, ongoing decision to remain and to work through life's challenges together. It is not about ignoring the pain, but about facing it together with a commitment to overcome. Consider the example of an athlete training for a marathon. The athlete doesn't just train when the weather is perfect or when they feel energized. They train through exhaustion, injury, and discomfort. But the commitment to the goal, to the finish line, is what pushes them through. The love in a relationship is similar. It is a commitment to the shared journey, even when the road gets rough. The love that endures is the one that is rooted in the understanding that the difficulties will not last forever, but the bond of love will. It is in those hard moments that the relationship is strengthened and refined, much like a muscle that becomes stronger with resistance. In the life of Jesus, we see the ultimate example of love that endures. He faced betrayal, rejection, pain, and death, yet he chose to remain faithful to his mission of love. His love for humanity was not based on whether people appreciated him or whether he was treated fairly. He loved despite the rejection, despite the hardship and despite the fact that many turned away from him. His love was committed, unwavering, and constant. In the same way, we are called to love with that same commitment. Now, we must ask ourselves, when the storms come, when the hard times hit, do we run or do we stay? Do we allow our love to endure and rise to the occasion, or do we give up when things aren't going as we planned? Love that remains is love that chooses to endure the tough times, to grow through the challenges, and to continue moving forward no matter how difficult the path may seem. True love is a love that endures. It stays when things get hard, it works through the pain, and it perseveres in the face of adversity. This kind of love doesn't falter in difficulty, it strengthens. It is in the moments of challenge that love becomes truly tested and refined. The question is not whether you will face challenges in your relationships, but how you will respond when they come. Will you choose to endure, to remain, and to love through the trials? This is the love that will stand the test of time. Love is not just an emotion or a fleeting feeling. It is a powerful, intentional force that transcends circumstances and endures through challenges. It is a love that respects freedom, that allows growth, that doesn't demand constant attention, and that is committed to standing by the other person through thick and thin. True love is not afraid of mistakes, and it remains steadfast even when the journey gets tough. It's a love that reflects the highest ideals of patience, understanding, and sacrifice. As you move forward, remember that love in its purest form requires a deep commitment, a willingness to grow together, and the strength to endure through the hard times. It is not always easy, but it is always worth it. So whether you're in a relationship with a spouse, a child, a friend, or even yourself, let love be the anchor that keeps you grounded, the force that helps you rise above challenges, and the light that guides you through the darkest moments. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I wish you all the best in your journey of love. May you experience love that is patient, kind, and enduring, and may you always remember that the greatest love of all is one that never gives up. Good luck and thank you.